What's going on, Warrior Gang? We're out here. Well, we're not out anywhere. We're in my basement in the lab. I wish I was outside, but I've been in here stuck trying to paint a few lures to use in the great outdoors here real soon. Crank season is upon us. Thank God. It's been a long wait all summer. And I didn't fish too much this summer. You know, this was a weird year. A real dry, stale season for Dave here. So we need to change that up. And I got myself down here diligent, disciplined, painting for hours, and it's a little nauseating, you know, even with the respirator on, but had to take a break and get on camera and talk to you guys because I really don't do enough of that while I'm painting. Looking at this beautiful wall of mine full of a bunch of custom lures that I've done over the past two years, I believe, and feels good to be back on camera about to paint because I've got the iPhone now and the resolution is crazy. I was doing the GoPro thing and the lighting was all messed up, and just, yeah, the phone is the answer, okay? If you guys are rookie or novice filming, bait painting or YouTubing, whatever, just utilize the phone more. I mean, no brainer, but I'm just catching up. I'm a little slow. I think it's the paint. All right, let's get into this video. I recently organized this wall a bit better. This whole side is like hard baits. From the bottom up on the right side of this wall is all my customs, everything I'm going over right now. It's hard to get a good look at all of them. I've got tons, but different bodies. They're all organized sort of by color and body, and working the way up on the jerk baits on the left side and the spooks at the top. Top water up top properly, you know, some little johns, some square bills and some warts. And then as we go down, the bigger square bills, craws on the right, shad on the left, some mid-range, some moderate range, then down to my deeper divers, and then my lipless down there. And then bada bing, over here we've got the whole factory section. Chatterbaits up top, and then on the left side blades and jerk baits, factory bandits, bombers, cotton cordell super spots, bandit ledge 250s, bomber flat A's, bomber fat free shad, square bill deep divers, Norman DD22s, all the sauce, baby. So I figured I'd run you guys through that. I mean, I haven't really done that in a video, but good God. And on this side we have all the unimportant stuff. Today we're gonna get straight to the painting. Like I said, using the iPhone, that's gonna improve the game for us, so you'll be able to see what the heck I'm doing for the first time. It's like a new perspective. All right, so I actually have no idea what color I want to do. Sometimes I'll go to my old baits and they'll be hanging around here, random spots, and I'll go to them for inspiration. What am I feeling today? I mean, this is an art, definitely an art form, right? So they say art kind of goes with emotion. So how am I feeling today? I've got the winter blues. Did I go with some Bluez Shad? Wait, now this is a great, that's a blues theme. Look at that baby, right? Whew. That is good looking. A little chartreuse belly, or no, that's fluorescent. I know my colors. I think that might be it. So for the sake of my lungs and my brain, I will turn on my inline fan, my ventilation system down here that I've MacGyvered somehow. Basically what I have is that inline fan. It's 1150 CFM. 1,150 cubic feet per minute are pumped out of this room of hopefully paint and stuff that's gonna kill me early, among other things. But yeah, so we're gonna be safe, and to do that, you know, I'm not able to really talk over that loud fan. It's pretty janky, but for you guys to understand what I'm doing, I have to do a voiceover. You know, for all the folks that are new to this channel, I'll definitely go through really quickly the process before you paint. First, rinse this thing off with denatured alcohol. And if you need to, if there's any roughness or abnormalities on the surface of the baits that you're buying, depending on the quality of the blank, that's the main factor right there, is what quality is your blank. That dictates the amount of time you spend on it before you even begin painting, okay? So for you novice painters, take that into account. That's gonna be a big factor in your paint time. Anyway, if you need to sand it, use a light grit sanding block like this. This will do the job. Just lightly scuff out any sort of roughness on the bait. You want it to get like a little bit cloudy, and that's it. But with this texture, I mean, there's no work necessary. It's very, very clean. All right, so before we begin, guys, let's chat about the gear I'm using. In the frame here is my beloved airbrush. This is a Badger Patriot 105. It's an airbrush that I found about a year into painting. I first started with an Amazon Master airbrush. That cost me about 20 bucks. All right, so this is gonna be our first coat on this beautiful DT16 blank, and it's going to be an ultramarine blue, a transparent version of it. Now this is a great paint from Createx Colors. You do need to thin it down a little bit, not too much because it's already quite watery. So just give it 1 or 2 drops of that high performance reducer, also by Createx. And then I use these wooden sticks from Michaels. They're very handy. Now, like I said, since it's quite watery in consistency, at least in my experience with the transparent paints, you want to do a few layers of this coat. You're going to apply this to the upper shoulders of the bait. After each coat, you're going to heat set. On the first coat, you want to apply it until it's just about to overspray, till it's looking like it's just a bit too watery, and then you stop right there and heat set. Then you'll apply your second and third coats, and this transparent blue will show up a lot better that way. So don't fully judge the application of the ultramarine blue until you've dried, heat set, applied. Then it's going to show its true effect. So here's a quick tip when you guys are spraying these lighter paints, and especially the transparent ones. To get a uniform application of the paint onto your bait, you want to count how many strokes you're applying on each side, and that will really help you keep things uniform. Now we are on to our next step, and that would be a Testors Pearl White. This color is special. It applies very well. You don't need to use any reducer, and for the most part, you guys will see me use a lot of Testors brand, and that's because as dangerous as this paint is, it does have a lot of you know, just particulate matter and stuff that you shouldn't be spraying indoors without ventilation. I'll say that first. We're gonna take this white pearl paint and we're gonna apply it to the sides of the bait, and we're gonna do this pretty generously to create sort of a mesh between that ultramarine blue on the top of the shoulders and the rest of the bait. And that's really gonna hit when the sunlight hits too, so you guys have to keep that in mind when you're painting. If you start going too far off the grid with your colors and getting very unnatural, I just tend to lose confidence in the colors. So that's just my preference. And for this bait, we're keeping it very shad-like. And be generous with it and start at the tail and spray directly across the bait on the sides up to the bottom of the eyelet. And then you'll create a really nice effect. And like I said, be generous with this. The more you want it to shine, the more white pearl you want on the bottom of the bait. We're gonna be overlapping some more colors, so that's not gonna overpower anything on this bait. Here's the final effect. For the most part, you can see on these baits, they're all shining real nice with the white pearl on the sides. Now, our next layer on this bait is going to be a blue pearl by Testors as well. And that's gonna be applied on the upper shoulders of the bait, just over the seam where the white pearl meets that ultramarine transparent blue. That's gonna bolster that top of the bait a bit with the blue already. It's gonna pop it, so apply this blue pearl generously, but not heavily. So you wanna apply maybe 2 to 3 sprays of it, depending on this consistency and how it shoots out of your gun. This stuff runs, like I said, straight out of the bottle, the Testors brand. Next up, we've got another Testors paint, a pearl green, and this is a real simple step just to accentuate the shoulders of the bait over those 2 blue layers. 1 to 2 light sprays of this stuff. Green over blue. Unless you want the bait to turn out more greenish looking, you want to be very conservative with this layer. So I'll show you a finished product here, but essentially the process is just going to involve, like I said, 1 to 2 light sprays on the upper shoulders from the front to the tail of the bait. Now, just to keep it efficient and to save some time, I usually like to do my brighter colors first. The darker ones seem harder to clean out of the gun. So with that being said, we'll continue on here with the Wicked Colors Fluorescent Yellow. And this coat is going to be applied lightly or moderately, depending on your taste, to the belly strip of these baits only. So don't allow this bait to overspray onto the lower sides or anything like that. It's just going to be the bottom strip. This is going to give it some flash when these baits deflect, because if you guys are cranking correctly, you should be deflecting on freaking every cast. And this should be your final effect. Now this next color is awesome. Another Testors color, of course, a pearl copper. I think this color is overlooked in the painting community quite a bit. I don't hear of many guys like using it, essentially, but I do. And it's an MVP in my book. So this is an essential color to add to any of my shad schemes. It accentuates the shoulders especially, so that's where we're gonna apply it, is just from the eye to the upper portion of the back. in sort of a streak. So to do that, to achieve this look, we're gonna go light. The copper is another color that shows up really well on these baits and you can overspray quite easily. You do not have to add any reducer to this bait as well. It's ready to shoot. So once you put it in the gun, be ready to go. Do a light spray on the upper shoulders, just 1 to 2 light streaks. If you get too much copper on one side, it's gonna look a little lopsided. I personally don't like that. Be diligent, stay disciplined, and spray away. This should be the final look here. Next up, we're going to be applying a detail color. This is a Wicked color, Detail Smoke Black, and that's gonna go over the back here. And this is another one of those colors that's very watery in consistency. I'll still put 1 or 2 drops of the high performance reducer in there. You're gonna have to add a few layers of this depending on the final look that you want to achieve. And as with the transparent blue, we're gonna have to heat set between these coats if you wanna go heavier. So if you like a light smoke black color on the back, and yes, we are applying this just on the back strip only. If you want a heavier color, then heat set and then apply again. If not, then you only need 1 or 2 layers of this detail smoke black. That's going to cap off the back for us and kind of mesh all those top colors. You can see the copper showing in through the smoke black, which is another effect that I really like for the smoke colors. It allows anything under, especially if it's a pearl, to show itself through. So let's run you through real quickly what we've done so far to this bait. We applied a transparent ultramarine blue to the top shoulders. Then we applied a pearl blue over that. We applied a white pearl coating to the mid body and onto the lower half of the body pretty generously. We applied a fluorescent yellow to the belly strip. Then we went back over the top with a pearl green stroke, then a pearl copper stroke where the eyelets are, sort of to the midsection of the body. And then lastly, a detail smoke black back. For the next step, this is kind of up to you guys. I'll tell you what I prefer and then I'll tell you what I'll do. I prefer to use the detail fastback green. The color on the left side is a aluminum. It's very flaky, a lot of like actual aluminum looking fragments in this paint, so it really brightens up the bait, gives it a chrome look. I prefer on these more natural translucent schemes, especially shad, to go with the fastback green because it incorporates a few colors that I really like, which are blue, green, and gold. I'm gonna do a mix of both on these baits just to give you a look, but that's gonna go on the back of these baits. Add a few drops of the reducer to keep it, more uniform, heat set in between the coats, and get whatever desired effect you'd like. I just wanna make the back on these baits pop. You can also apply this with a stencil to give it some patterning, but the fastback green is gonna show up mostly gold with a very slight tinge of blue. And if you go heavier with this paint, the more blue shows up. So just keep that in mind. With the chrome or the aluminum, it's as advertised. It's gonna show up chrome/aluminum, just shinier, that's all. For the finishing touches on this bait, this is an essential effect that I find really gets these fish agitated. No, I'm just kidding. I really don't know if it works or not, but it appeals to me. So I put this on every bait that I'm throwing that I wanna imitate a shad with. We put an opaque white dot, a very uniform dot on each side, so make sure you're measuring whatever tactic you can use to measure, use it. I use on this bait, because it's textured and has these little divots in the bait, I count those divots from the eyelet on each side. So I'll count maybe like 2 over from the eye, and then I'll apply my white shad dot there after making sure that this paint is spraying correctly. No oversprays on this step at all, or else you will regret it later. Okay, so apply your opaque white dot on the side there, as so. Then load the airbrush with some opaque black, and do not put reducer in that. Make sure it's dry as can be. You want this shooting out the gun perfectly dry, no overspray like I said. Apply the opaque black, another shad dot over that white layering, and you do a bigger one towards the front, and then we're gonna do like another micro dot behind it. And that's gonna accentuate the side of the bait, make it look more natural like a thread fin or whatever shad have dots on the side. I don't know, some of them do. So as you can see, I'm just adjusting the dot to be more uniform on each side. And as I apply that back dot, you can see it's more of a micro size. I like that. So we're gonna add the same thing on the other side. But just because I'm feeling it, I'll add another micro dot behind that one. And that makes this bait look so unique. I really like how that turned out. Obviously, this step is up to you guys. You can leave that shad dot out or you can include it. You can follow my direction on how many dots and what style I'm using, or go all freestyle and do what you feel. That's the beauty of painting, guys. It's all up to you. I'm just giving you a short template here on a translucent DT16 shad. It turned out excellent. I mean, all we need to do now, we've got the eyes applied, all we need to do now is give it a nice top coat. I do a double layer of KBS diamond top coat, and that works for me. These baits are pretty indestructible unless I'm throwing them against some concrete. And that does it for the DT16 shad translucent version. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. It was a voiceover. I've never done one of those before, so hopefully I did okay. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for joining me.